Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's the last week of April. Uh, most of the snow is gone. Today Cheryl and I are working on some habitat stuff, trees that we planted over the years. Planted a variety of trees, some Siberian crab trees, plum trees, some oak trees. I think that's red osier dogwood. I guess we'll do a little update on that today as well. So we tried a lot of different trees on the property, probably over the last 8-10 years. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the successes, some things that didn't work, reasons why they didn't work. There's a variety of things that cause you not to have much luck with trees. So they're tough to get started, but once you get them going and they get high enough, they do pretty well. So today, the first thing we're doing, we do every year, as soon as the ground thaws enough to get fertilizer spikes in, we will fertilize a lot of the trees with the store-bought and Miracle-Gro fertilizer spikes, just to give them a little boost in the spring. So that's what we're up to this morning. So come along and follow us through our habitat tree work. So these are the Siberian crab trees, and we planted these probably 5 years ago. I started out with just tree tubes on them, and they grew pretty well, I guess. The reason I planted them is for grouse. These Siberian crab get a small berry on them that are pretty attractive to grouse, so originally that's why we put them in. They grew pretty well at first in the tubes, but as soon as they got above the tube height, the deer would nip the tops off every year in the spring or late winter and stunted them pretty badly. So we started caging them, which helped quite a bit. But as you can see by the condition of this cage, the deer still do their best to get inside these things. So we use this 2x4 wire cage, and it works okay. But at some trees, you're probably better off to go with a little heavier, even, because they tend to try to get into them. But so in the spring, I'll carry a pruner with me. We'll prune some of the stuff off. If it got nipped over the winter, I'll clean those limbs up, and then we'll put one fertilizer spike around a small tree like this, just on the outside of the drip line, and clean them up a little bit, like I said, and give them a little boost and see how they do. For sure, if you can cage them, you're far ahead. Anything you plant that isn't caged, if you have any deer numbers at all, they really chew up your trees. So worth the investment to cage them all. Like I was saying earlier, we use the Miracle-Gro fruit and citrus spikes. All the trees we plant are some type of soft mass, either some type of small fruit or crab apple or something like that type of tree. So these work pretty good. Just takes one on a small tree like this. Usually just take a lining bar and jab a hole just along the drip line. The ground's pretty soft this time of year, so it's pretty easy to get them in the ground. That's about it. Like I said, we'll prune them a little bit, clean them up a little bit, and go through each tree and fertilize them. So these trees are yard trees that we planted, I want to say 4 years ago, these oaks. They were 6-foot bare root bur oaks when we bought them. They established and grew really well. So same deal with these. We caged them for probably 3-4 years till they got tall enough where the deer couldn't browse the tops off. And they really did well. So we continue to fertilize these, and they're getting acorns on them already. Last year I think both produced acorns, so they're doing really well. cars going there. So we'll go through these and get all our trees fertilized in the yard here. We have a couple of oak trees that we planted, and then some greenhouse variety apple trees, crab apple trees that we planted years back, and some centennial crabapple, I think they are, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get all these fertilized, and then we'll move on to some trees that we've planted more out of our yard in the woods that we plant more for habitat. I'm ready. A little bit wet there. So these are all bur oaks as well. These we started as 2-foot bare roots. So they were, I mean, they've grown a lot. I think we started these 8 years ago. But yeah, they were only 2 foot high when we started them. We started them in tubes and caged them as well. And I think probably 4 years in, they were probably tall enough to take cages off. Yeah. And then we pulled the tubes off. Now they're tall enough they can survive in the browse, and the deer can't reach the tops of them. And they're really doing well. I think 2 out of these 5 actually produced acorns last year. So you can kind of gauge it by that. I think they got to be probably 10 years old from a bare root 1 or 2 foot tree, 8 to 10 years old before they're going to start producing acorns. So keep that in mind if you're going to plant any bur oaks or any type of white oak. They take a while before they produce acorns. Okay, everybody, we're finished up our fertilizing of our trees kind of around our yard and stuff this morning. Spent some time doing that. And now we're out in one of the main fields here. It's kind of our destination plot for our hunting spot, for our hunting land. Last year we had field corn planted in here, but this spot is real wet most of the year, stays fairly wet. It's kind of on a creek edge, on the edge of the field. So we decided we have some wild plums on the property here, and we decided we wanted to get some more plums growing along this edge. So we're putting fence posts this morning, or this afternoon, I guess it is now. Wait for a truck to go by. Earlier in the year, I think in January, I ordered, I believe, 50 American plum bare root trees. I think they're 2 foot trees. We're going to plant them in this area, I think about 100 yards long, 40 yards wide. We're going to plant them about 9-10 feet apart. And then we're going to fence it in. We have livestock fence on rolls here that will run around the whole perimeter of the area here to keep deer from getting in and browsing it. With 50 trees, it'd be just about impossible to cage everyone individually, so this works out a lot better. We'll just fence the whole area in once we get everything planted. Because there is corn here, it's pretty weed free, so I think they'll have a good chance to start growing here before any weed competition comes in. And we may come back in later on and put wood chips or mulch around the base of some of these trees as well. We'll see how they do. But that's what we're up to this afternoon here, and we'll get started planting a few trees. I'll be digging holes with a post hole shovel. Sure, I'll be coming behind and putting the trees in. I'll just be stepping them in, dig a little hole, stick them in the hole, step them in, and move on. So it should go fairly quickly here. So I ordered these trees from Coldstream Farm. I've ordered quite a few trees. A lot of the oak trees and stuff we've gotten in the past have all come from there. They do a good job of packaging them up and separating them. They're usually 10 or 12 in a bundle, so most of the trees I get from them are good survivors, so I'm pretty happy with the trees I get there. We'll get them unpackaged and separate a little bit and start working on it. Just make sure that root gets down. So we just finished up planting our plum trees, got that taken care of, and we thought we'd come out and do a update on a video we did a couple years ago. I did some red osier dogwood cuttings, didn't have great results, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we did and how it went. So I planted about 20 cuttings in this little slough area, and that year the spring dried out right after we planted. It got super dry. We didn't get any rain that whole summer. In fact, our pond dried up that year. So partially could have been part of the reason why these dogwoods didn't go. But you can see here, this is one of the cuttings right here. It just died in place. There's another one up closer here. And there's a few around here, but early on, I think when we first started coming out, and we looked at them a little bit, some of them actually sprouted, but the first year that they sprouted, going into the spring, or over winter I suppose, the deer browsed the heck out of them. So a lot of them that even sprouted, once they got browsed, they died later on. So I don't know that I would try that again. I probably wouldn't. A lot of effort putting them out and everything, and unless the conditions are just right, it doesn't seem like it had good survival rate. When we did the cut in 2020, we had that logger come in. There's another video for that where we showed what we were doing with the logging. Some of those areas that we cut, once we freed up, got some sun in and freed up the small stuff to grow, the red osier dogwood really took over. So we'll take a ride out there and kind of show you the difference between trying to establish it somewhere and opening up the sky to let some sun into an area where there was already some dogwood there. So we'll take a run out there, I'll show you that. Well, we made our way out to the spot that we did the cutting. So there was a lot of mature popple around this food plot in the distance here. And we cut all around it and kind of feathered the edge of that. When we did that, it opened up the canopy quite a bit and let the sun in here. And there was some red osier dogwood already in here. But once we opened that canopy, you can see, if you take a look around here, it really grew in thick all around the little water hole here, kind of a swamp hole here. It just got really thick. So, I mean, in comparison to doing cuttings and propagating them, this is way better. I mean, obviously it takes a lot more effort to have a logger come in and do this type of work, but I mean, to get new growth, this is the way to do it. It really grew up quickly. So I think that's about it to wrap up for the day here. We'll do some more videos as the summer goes on with some of our habitat work and work around the farm and stuff. So if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe and hit the notification button. Until next time, keep on living a good life.